Gemini, we are on the road back and we might be feeling a little bit rough. We've got the Nine of Swords here, and that is the like anxiety and nightmare card. Also has those associations to PTSD. And this one in particular, I actually find pretty relatable because she's got her little cat there and she's actually, waking up from that nightmare. And that's been my experience with nightmares and night terrors. I have my little furry friend to help me get through that. So maybe you've got a companion coming with you on the road back. Maybe it's the mentor, but we'll see. We'll get some cards and we'll get into it. As a road back, this is the lead up to that climactic boss fight, the final interaction with the antagonist of your hero's journey. And some examples, like a big one would be from The Lion King, when Simba goes back to Pride Rock, gets ready to face off with Scar. I thought I had another one. Sorry, it's a little bit early. Anywho, so Nine of Swords. This is Mars in Gemini. Seven of Swords. Ooh, deception. Deception about what? And there's the same black cat, too. And I don't know if the camera is going to pick this up, but the fabric on the robe and the dress, that's the same pattern, the little swirlies. And the Seven of Swords, like that is the deception card, but the story behind it is that the reason they're carrying five swords and, only leaving two behind, they're taking part of the warring camp's weapons from them, so that when the battle rolls around the next morning, the opposition doesn't have the same tools at their disposal that they thought they did. So maybe there's some anxiety about whatever your plan is or your approach on the road back, because you're returning to the innermost sanctum. Maybe there's some obstacles and such that you encountered on the approach stage that you're trying to subvert this time. Interesting. Seems very synchronous. Whoa, good morning, kitten. Surprise me. Doing another coffee time reading. I'm enjoying mixing it up. Especially with the daylight change. It gets dark so early. But what else do we have besides the Seven of Swords? And the complex that I had jotted down here was catastrophizing. Catastrophizing, overthinking, whatnot, because that really can act on its own kind of for you when that overthinking takes control, especially when you're dealing with something like PTSD. You get into that hypervigilant state, and that's where I see a lot of control issues manifest in me. They come from a place of hypervigilance because I'm trying to prevent something bad from happening, so I become like really controlling about like all the variables in a situation to try and get the outcome, the positive outcome. But what else besides the Seven of Swords? And this is the Everyday Witch Tarot. But with that catastrophizing, you can also get into like analysis paralysis. Start hemming and hawing. Just keep yourself in place. And for the coffee choice this morning, I've got, what was it? Caramel coffee with 1 pump of hazelnut syrup and a little bit of oat milk. And it's Dunkin' in solidarity with the Starbucks workers that are on strike right now. I wonder how long that's gonna last. Well, let's see. Queen of Cups in reverse. And looks like she is with child here. And another kitty. But these ones are calicos, so I'm going to take the black cat that the signal that that's you in the reading. So maybe this is your companion. And it could be romantic, platonic, business, whatever. And the Queen of Cups, that's someone who's very nurturing and I kind of want to say in control of her emotions, because in most depictions she's got a chalice that has a lid on it, but here this is upside down, so it's like emotions are spilling over. This could even be your adversary, your antagonist in your hero's journey that you're on the road back to. Losing control of their emotions. And she's stood up from her throne, like her throne's in the background. And the little kitty, is that one or two? Maybe two, have, you know, taken up shop, as they're wont to do, you know, when you get up from your seat. But with the Seven of Swords combination, that backstory of, like, taking weapons from a warring camp, has she abdicated her throne? Abdicated her duties of the throne? Maybe that's the reason for this conflict? This is almost like leaving oneself unguarded, you know, giving the opportunity for those 5 swords to be absconded with. So is this someone, is this like a frenemy? Someone who seems like they're on your side, but they're not? Because that's kind of like Simba and Scar. Because Scar, you know, he was like, I'm your uncle. Like, why would I have any kind of malicious intent, you know? And he took advantage of Simba's naivete when he was younger, like, run and never return, because of the perception of what happened to Mufasa. And, you know, he used that opportunity to claim the throne. The Fool, Death in reverse, and 9 of Wands in reverse. I feel like that's kind of leaning into that Lion King story, because Death in reverse is resisting change, and we've got that new moon in Scorpio today. I think it's already in the full new moon phase right now, but because Simba left on that journey and then, I mean, ultimately became king. Like, it was just delayed. Was it Hamlet? That's what the Lion King is Hamlet, I think. Um, and Nine of Wands, that's like subverting boundaries. The When Scar knew that Simba didn't know any better, and so he took advantage of that to get past the like the royal lineage, like the expected heir, because he couldn't do that of direct means, so he had to be sneaky. So maybe you're in that kind of situation? Some sort of power grab? Like you were supposed to have power, but someone took it right out from under your feet. Huh. It took a little bit for it to come together. And I mean, it took a bit for Simba to realize what had happened. Finding out, that Pride Rock and such had been decimated by famine and so forth, and then he knew he couldn't live his Hakuna Matata life anymore and had to go back. Let's see. I'm going to see if this Oracle of a Radiant Sun can shed a little light on what is the nature of this power grab. Like, what am I tapping on here that doesn't want to be seen, like, immediately? Because I could absolutely feel like a nightmare, finding out power is in the wrong hands, and as a result, things are now desolate. Principle, and it came out sideways, so in motion. And I mean, this has the Pope crown, it looks like, or maybe it's a bishop, but the sun and the moon, so a duality to it. And even the inlay of this diamond, it's like a more warm tone, and the outside is more cool, so it's kind of that change with Pride Rock, that it was so vibrant and colorful, and then it deteriorated into this like grayscale. So the principles are wrong. Jupiter and Sag, I don't know if I said that. It doesn't quite make sense to me. Like, that's the why behind the power grab? Is that just somebody with bad principles wanted the power? Ouch. Little cut on my hand. Domination, Mars in Sagittarius, and riches, Saturn in Capricorn, both in reverse. And more religious iconography. And the angel too. So that's giving Hierophant. So some sort of large institution, system. And it could be within a family too. Somebody wants to secure power from within a family. Maybe I just saw something about Princess Diana. So could be like an actual important family, Because, you know, the examples that I usually come up with, like, why do we matter, you know? You know, us plebs here at the bottom, this whole perception of family image and whatnot, like, who cares? But maybe this is bigger. But both of these in reverse, it's like it's flipping. Like maybe this was done in order to acquire riches. Like if you think about, like Scar wasn't directly after money, like currency. But he wanted just power. The prosperity of Pride Rock is that it was fruitful. Like there was plenty to eat, there was plenty of water for everyone. And it got down to the point where there was only sustenance for those at the top. And eventually even the hyenas revolted. 3.5%. That's all you need. Follow them on Instagram. It's an interesting concept, though, that you only need 3.5% of a respective population within a system to stand up to it, to force it to change. So maybe the reigning power, this Queen of Cups, whomever, is no longer dominant. Because, I mean, if you run your kingdom in such a way that leaves people hungry, how do you plan on maintaining power? So, tell me more about this antagonist that we're on the road back to. Power hungry lion. Ooh. 9 of Cups in reverse and the Empress upright. She looks also with child here. Oh, interesting. And then the black cat is on the Empress. So you've got the Queen of Cups who is with child, but the calico cats, and then the Empress with child and the black cat. So I think we're going to take this as you. And it doesn't have to be literal, you know. If you're not already expecting, this is unlikely the way that you're going to find out through a tarot reading. But maybe is it to subvert your wish? Because the 9 of Cups is the wish card. The Queen of Cups doesn't want you to have whatever it is you're birthing. And that could be a relationship, that could be a new business venture, it could be a new friendship. Because a lot of this tactic of how Scar took power, it only worked because Simba was in isolation. 9 of Swords. I don't feel like Simba did a ton of overthinking, like catastrophizing. Like, you definitely had that moment, like, how can I make a difference, you know? You gotta do it. I mean, if you don't take the chance, like, you're guaranteeing the outcome, that's for sure. But if someone, say, unbeknownst to you, you know, from the perspective of Simba and Scar, unbeknownst to you, has preyed on your naivete, preyed on information that you do not have, to make it seem from your perspective that your wish isn't coming true. That might cause you to catastrophize, you know, like maybe this is and all of us go through this, I feel like. You've been through experiences in your life where something hasn't worked out, and maybe to a point where it's traumatic, you know? And this person could be preying on that, expecting you to fall into old habits of like, well, those didn't work out, this won't either, you know, the catastrophizing, and then you abandon course and they get their outcome because they're like running unopposed, essentially. So what is the wish? Tell me more. What's the wish that's trying to be stopped? And like, why? That's really the feeling that I'm getting, like, for what? Just greedy? Because there's that whole family dynamic, yeah, but need more. I'm going with that one because I barely caught it. Six of Cups in reverse. A false soulmate? Because this is typically the nostalgia card, but it's also the soulmate card. And there's a black and a calico cat. But this person, on all the other cards that have come out so far that have a calico cat, they've been women. This is a man. Is this just someone who's like jealous? Or even just trying to keep you for themselves? Like they know you're not compatible, you're not interested, you're not whatever. But there's some sort of like manipulation going on to keep you at a minimum away from getting with someone else. That seems like a weird, like, well, if I can't have you, no one can. Ugh. Get a life. Like, take up a hobby or something. Do a puzzle. There's a bunch of knitting videos on YouTube. Make a scarf. I like knitting. But that's kind of the vibe I'm getting, that maybe you want love in your life. I feel like that came up in the last reading too. Like you'd been single for a minute, and it was the dramatic war movie, yeah, because all those Mars cards came out. Got another, like this is Mars and Gemini, kind of carrying through that combative energy. They're trying to keep you from your Oscar-winning love? It's messed up. Like, I don't know. If someone's not into you, like, just deal with it. Go meet somebody else that is. There are a lot of people out there. Like 8 billion of them. I feel the urge to take all of these, actually. Seven of Wands in reverse, Temperance in reverse, Ace of Wands in reverse, and Queen of Pentacles in reverse. Wow. And only the Ace of Wands doesn't have the black cat. but it's like mostly black. So it kind of feels like trying to convince you that something isn't yours. I feel like that's something that happened between Simba and Scar. Like, you were so young, I was doing what I thought was right, something like that. But I'm getting the sense that, like, these are your feelings. Like, you have had it with people coming at you, with people trying to control your life, control your path. You've lost patience with it. It feels like there's a new beginning, some sort of new passionate beginning, whether that's romance or business, whatever, that has been kept from you, like an illusion. Because that, like, color disparity on the cat, and it's negatively impacting your finances, your materials. It doesn't necessarily have to be finances, it could be health, the body, because stress is so bad for your health. Material being the body. And maybe this continued conflict, because on those past few stages of the hero's journey, we were brought to our lowest of the low. And now we're on the road back to the final boss fight and could be caught in that catastrophizing. That's a lot of stress on your system. Because even if you've rested from the ordeal, got your reward, the one thing you needed to, like, retreat and come back, you're still kind of immediately, like, retreating and going back to battle. It's a brutal cycle. And maybe the wish is to be out of this cycle of, why is everything such a battle? Like that, I've been in that mode recently of, like, oh my god, like, why do I have to move literal mountains to get, like, a berry? The disproportionate amount of effort it takes to get what you need, not even what you want, but what you need, is just absolutely outrageous. And I see so much unrest about it. Because, like, what did you expect to happen? It's like when the hyenas turned on him. Like, you thought loyalty was gonna get you further than food? Like, if we don't have food, loyalty means nothing. That means you're food. As he became in the end. Optimism. Moon in Sag. Okay, so a lot of Sag. And patience. Jupiter in Virgo. And interesting that we got temperance in the reverse. And now we got patience in the upright. So maybe that's a call to, like, check yourself before you wreck yourself. Maybe you're losing your patience with this situation, which is totally valid. But in order to see it through, you might still need to be a little more patient, unfortunately. Please don't come for me. We've got 2 more stages of the hero's journey after this. So, like, we're right there. Like, there is an end in sight. And you might not be feeling very optimistic, and that's okay. It's totally okay to reject the toxic positivities of, like, it's gonna get better, and it's like, don't worry. And, well, I've been on this journey for a really, really, really long time, and because things haven't got better, they've gotten worse. Like, do you see the other side of the coin? So, especially going through something so arduous as a hero's journey, look for supportive people in your life. Not people who dismiss what you're saying with little seemingly positive nuggets, but actually hear, like, your frustration and just what's stuck in your craw, what's grinding your gears, even if nothing can be done about it. Like, the expectation that you'll just get over it when it's still happening is so toxic. And people very rarely use their words and say things like, oh, I really don't have the emotional bandwidth for this right now. Or, like, I've heard about this same topic multiple times. Like, what's going on? And a point for me where I get really frustrated is, like, I can't be coaching everybody on communication skills. Like, I'm trying to be a participant in the conversation, and I'm not seeing any effort, like, initiative being taken from the other side of the table to improve their communication skills to smooth things over with me. It's just kind of being dismissive and rude and whatnot, and then they're like, oh, Seven's quirky, you know, Seven's anxious. Yeah, because I'm not being heard. I'm not being listened to by people that call themselves my friends. It's hard being the free therapist. Check on your therapist friends. Like, both the literal and the metaphorical ones, you know. What else besides patience? Risk in reverse. Saturn and Aries. Which I think it will be returning to soon, because I think it retrograded back into Pisces. And this has always given me Three of Pentacles. A little tree there. So no risk? Low risk? Or maybe the risk, you're past, like, the biggest risk because of where you are in the hero's journey. Like, you've already hit your lowest of the low, and you got back up. You kept going. So that can be a bit of a salve for that catastrophizing that might, like, ratchet you into place. I also am feeling, well, Hecate, because the key here, but someone, your respective Queen of Cups antagonist here, is going to try and convince you the risk is greater than it is. See, this is why I like using structures like the hero's journey and such, because it gives you kind of a map in an otherwise rudderless world. Because you know all of your context. You know your lows. You know what you've gotten back up from that this Queen of Cups may not. It's like the absence that Simba had when he grew up and all the stuff that he learned. And it was so different than the environment that Scar was fostering, like violence and fighting and whatnot. And Simba was learning how to just kick back, like how to relax, how to live life and enjoy life and appreciate the little things, and ultimately prevailed in the end. So on the right here, what does the Queen of Cups want us to perceive? Because that was a really big weapon of Scar's, was perception. So what does the Queen of Cups want us to perceive? Because he definitely had that, like, victim mentality. I think he even tried to blame the hyenas. That might have been a turning point, too. They're like, oh, you're not only not feeding us, but you're not even going to be loyal to us, and then turn around and expect that from us? Like, oh no, we're done here. And that's the thing that, something that drives me crazy when I hear people talk about, like, victim mentality, especially when they're speaking about people that have truly been victimized. Like, that's not what victims do. That's what antagonists do, like Scar. They pretend to be a victim. So I don't use, one of the many reasons I don't use that phrase, like, victim mentality. Like, don't talk to people who have been victimized like that. It doesn't matter how long it's been. Like, stop doing that. What does the Queen of Cups, nope, want us to perceive? Maybe nothing. Seven of Cups in reverse, and this came out sideways. Four of Swords. There's a black kitty again in both of these. But the Seven of Cups in reverse, that's illusions revealed. You know, you can see all the little emojis there. And those can often be perceived too as lids on the cups. So you might not actually be able to see what's in them, but now that they're flipped over, like, their contents are spilled out. And maybe that's something that was causing some anxiety, was being unable to perceive something. I'm also kind of getting, like, give it a rest. You know, that just, why are you still trying? Like, we can see you. We can see the illusions that you've cooked up here. And I don't know why you're just trying the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. Like, that's what I'm getting here too. Because Queen of Cups is emotional. She's not the Queen of Wands. That's not the creative energy. So she's lacking that spark to respond in a creative way on your road back to this conflict. Because Scar wasn't terribly creative. He was deflective. And he really panicked, you know. Because he tried blaming the hyenas to Simba, and I think he tried blaming Simba to the hyenas. Like, he's trying to play this both sides thing. And ultimately, I mean, didn't work, but how are you planning on even playing both sides, like having footing for both sides, when your people are starving? That's only going to work for so long. Hold, please. There we go. But that strategy can only work so long. You can only, like, push back the closest alligator before you must feed them. So we're at the give it a rest point. Ah, High Priestess in reverse. There's that black kitty again. Playing with some runes. And in reverse, I mean, you can sometimes read that as like a dark High Priestess. Somebody who is like a charlatan that is trying to utilize the spiritual practices for exclusively for personal gain. You know, and when I say that, I don't mean, you know, those of us who are trying to make a living, and like, people deserve to be paid for their time, you know. It's people who are like stealing content from others and making money off of it. People who are using AI for tarot readings and just like pumping them out like one after another. I've seen on some Etsy stores and whatnot just these incredible turnaround rates on some tarot readings. I'm like, that's not even enough time for me to meditate and get ready for a reading, you know, try and actually give somebody some actual insight that they're looking for. But it's just like somebody who's trying to make a quick buck on something they don't earnestly believe. Or even they're not quite ready to do that. You know, maybe they want to become a tarot reader or a rune reader or something, but they haven't put in the hours and the years to learning and reading and practicing and so on and so forth. But they just want to get started right now. And so they're ripping other people's work off, rebrandishing it as their own, and then ultimately really not learning because they're just replicating. Like, I watch other tarot readers. I like to see how other people interpret the cards and their meanings and what they've picked up over the years. But like this hero's journey thing, like, this was me putting this style of reading together, you know? It's one thing to be inspired by someone, and it's another to just straight up steal from them. We've got generosity, Saturn in Leo. I think we've got a few Saturn cards here. And discrimination, Venus in Virgo, and it's in reverse. So generosity based on merit? Interesting. You know, because I was just rambling about charlatans and whatnot. This feels like another, like, external to the Queen of Cups and the Empress. So maybe someone else? Maybe it's the mentor, because I mentioned that at the beginning, that you might have a companion on this road back. So maybe the mentor or someone is seeing this all go down and is going to be generous in some way? Or is this generosity what was trying to be impeded in the first place? Fulfillment. Saturn in Sagittarius. Okay, so what is Saturn doing? It's in Pisces right now? I think we talked about that. Maybe? Pretty sure Saturn's in Pisces right now, and then early 2026 it's going to go back into Aries. So fulfillment, maybe your idea is to go your own way, break free of this kingdom, what have you, and in order to do that you must have resources. Maybe someone's going to be generous. I don't know, that'd be dope. You know, in a bleak dystopian world, it seems like that there is near no reprieve from, at least that's the way it feels. Be nice to receive a little generosity, you know, especially down here on the bottom of the pyramid. But I wonder if that, like, kind of what I'm getting is that this Queen of Cups might have been trying to maneuver themselves into the position that was rightfully yours to receive this generosity. Something like that. Because Scar didn't really get any generosity. But I don't know, it feels like there's something hidden, and it could be that Seven of Cups. Like that's what was hidden. Riches. It seems odd to me though, like I'm trying to put this, like bring it back down to the ground and put it into like a real world. How would someone know that like you were to receive riches of some sort and then maneuver themselves into that spot? Maybe this person just sucks and it's kind of a blanket, like, I don't want you to have anything because you rejected me or something like that. I don't know. People be people, and they don't always make sense to me, despite me being a people. Don't get it. But for this last little placement here, is there anything we need to know before the next stage of the hero's journey? Because the next stage, I think, is that's when that face-off occurs. Because we're coming up towards it. So what do we need to know before we go into the next stage of the hero's journey? That's atonement with the Father, resurrection stage. Justice, but in reverse. Oh, and there's one hiding behind it. And the world. World's upright, so the end of a cycle. And she's like tossing her hat to the wind. I'm trying to feel this out as is this an injustice that's being righted? And it's closing out this cycle? Because, I mean, that's what happened with Scar and Simba. Like, he eventually returned to where he was supposed to be in the first place. And, you know, that's what closes the cycle. I also wonder if maybe you start modifying your position a little bit. Like, not to the point where you're giving up on anything that you've set out to do. It's more letting go of the expectation of how that justice is supposed to manifest. Like letting, you know, letting the wind take it away and not letting that catastrophizing take over if it doesn't happen exactly the way that you expect it to happen. And also not impeding the progress of this justice being righted because it's not looking how you expected it to look. Because I think that's a really important distinction of in many cases, people in these situations will do things, say things to make you or try and influence you to accept the good enough solution. Well, yes, I was aware of my actions, but what can we do? What are we supposed to do? Hold grown men accountable? Preposterous. And I just am sensing something like that. Like there will be some sort of expectation of like, yeah, we completely blundered everything, but now that it's blundered, what do you expect us to do? Like, I expect you to fix it, actually. Uh, that's the deal. Like, you brought yourself here. You're the one that led Pride Rock to famine, and maybe the Empress, you know, you, the Querent, us, we're going to be the ones that need to fix the mess that they've created by subverting the throne. You know, by you not being in that position this whole time, there might be problems to fix. And it might be really, it might even feel like an injustice, you know? But that might be the only way to fix these problems. Is, you know, we got to this point where we cleared out the rot. You know, we've got things planted. It's not quite spring yet. It's not time for the harvest yet. But now it's not the evil uncle in charge. And we're going to band together with the hyenas that chose to remain and rebuild. You know, it's not perfect, but tomorrow is another day. The sun, yeah. Everything's gonna be alright. Might be a little rough getting there. And Knight of Swords. Oh, and they've got the same fabric that we started with. And the black cat. Maybe that's that soulmate. Maybe they're rushing in, you know, to help fight the good fight. And the sun, the black cats again, too. Like someone's with child here as well. So birthing a new day, a new dawn. And the sun card, too, this is identity. Like Simba knew he was supposed to be king, or like he was in line with being king. And then went through his Hakuna Matata phase and then had to like re-accept that he was king. And if you're going through something akin to the hero's journey, there's probably a lot of identity stuff going on too. I want to know more about the sun specifically. That's really got my attention. And I really like sunflowers. I'm really partial to those. Vision on the bottom here. Sun in Pisces. Decision. Mars in Gemini. And it's in reverse. Indecision. So maybe some hemming and hawing about that identity piece of, am I the king? Like, am I up to this? And it's okay to doubt. I feel like the concern is when people don't doubt if they should be in charge and in charge of other people's lives, because that's kind of like Scar felt entitled to the throne, and his pursuit of power decimated the land, and all he cared about was securing power at anybody else's expense. I mean, he unalived his brother. Like, come on. Really, really power hungry. And maybe there's some sort of imposter syndrome going on. Like, I wasn't pursuing this. I don't know if I even want this. Like, how could I possibly do this? Yeah, authority. Mars in Capricorn in reverse. And resistance, Mercury in Taurus. So resisting that authority of self, or maybe even the authority that you have inherently in your bloodline, in the situation. You know, when people talk about fear, that's another thing that irks me, the way that people talk about it. You know, like they say things like, we don't know her here, we don't know fear. We know her here. Fear is not a bad thing. Fear is a necessary component of bravery. If you had nothing to fear, if you weren't afraid of anything, you would not be being brave when you stood up to the evil uncle, you know, the proverbial evil uncle. Because Scar wasn't afraid. He was entitled. He did not doubt himself. And, like, look how that ended up. That doubt and fear is very healthy, as long as it doesn't become catastrophizing and you get lost in it, you know. And there's always the I really like the album by Papa Roach, the Face Everything and Rise. Good song, good album, all that. We'll get one of these fairy cards, the fairy oracle. Maybe a little help, our Rafiki, as it were. Oh, there's two. Let's see. Oh, this font is hard to read. The Retriever. Can't quite get that name. I'll get the book. And oh, that's Gnome? We'll see. Oh, I forgot to hold him up closer. Yeah, I have a hard time with this font. 41 and 26. I think it's Ilbe, the Retriever. Office of Unclaimed Property, hopes and wishes, loyalty. That does feel like what was going on with Scar and Simba. Like unclaimed property. Ilbe is trying to remind you of something you've lost. A hope, perhaps, or a dream. You may have thought it gone forever, but he is holding it out to you for reconsideration. He thinks you can do something with it now. The way may not be obvious, but his clever nose has scented a path, a potential opening for bringing this into your life. Sometimes Ilbe may be saying that a long-awaited dream is at last arriving on the scene, and there is nothing we need to do but open our hearts and minds to it. However, we usually have to work for it. Another attribute of Ilbe is loyalty. Huh. And loyalty, not fealty. I think it's really important to understand the difference in this scenario. Like, Simba would be loyalty and Scar would be fealty. And I'm one of those people that, like, I'll be loyal if you give me something to be loyal to, but I don't do fealty. And, oh, that gnome. Trickster, creative chaos, wild gifts, breaking habits, and patterns. It's time to leap into the air, letting the earth turn beneath you and discover where you come down again. Reasonable risks are okay. Even unreasonable risks are probably okay. I don't know if you heard the car outside, but time to zoom. Use your head and look before you leap, of course, but do so understanding that the actual jump is likely to be very rewarding. No guarantees, but then there is never really... Wait, words. But then there never really are anyway. No matter how pretty the paper may seem to be... I'm having a hard time all of a sudden. No matter how pretty the paper they may seem to be printed on and the scroll work around the edge. That was really hard. In a reading, the presence of that gnome tells us that the forces of chaos are at work. Things may not be as they seem, and this may very well be a good thing. Look for the unexpected, find the opportunity in it, and go for it. He says that no matter how confused things may seem, there is a way to make them better. But it is a creative way, one you haven't tried before. He says, think amazing new thoughts. So that's making me think of the difference between, like, the Queen of Cups and the Queen of Wands that we were talking about. That this antagonist that you're dealing with is more emotional than creative. So may very well be, like, as you go through the road back and you come back to that final climactic conflict, you might just be coming up against the exact same stuff that you were coming up against before that brought you to your lowest low, but now you have experience with it. Now you know how to handle it. So carry on, march forward with that confidence that you've been here before. Even if it brought you all the way down to the basement or rock bottom, you got through it. And, this... Where'd it go? But this reading started with the 9 of Swords, and actually, as strange as it may sound, the 10 of Swords is my favorite tarot card in the deck. I'm actually wearing my 10 of Swords necklace right now, because the only way to go from rock bottom is up. I always have seen that as a particularly optimistic card. And a very optimistic song, No Way Back, Just Through by Trivium. And I recommend the music video. I really like it. It's just, they're having a good time in Japan. And it seems like that might be what we need right now to kind of cut loose a little bit. You might need to rest and relax a little bit more before this respective climactic battle. And coffee or tea outside. You know, it's a little cool right now, but, you know, with the weather fluctuations, if you can get outside, do. And, I mean, especially if it's cool, if you've got piping hot coffee or something like that, then sounds like a good time to me. So, a lot to think about. Be easy on yourself, be gentle with yourself. Heroes' journeys are called journeys for a reason. You know, mind that catastrophizing. And if you need help, please seek it. Please ask for it. Friends, therapy, support groups, whatever works for you. But overall, I hope this helps. I hope this resonates, and if it doesn't, I hope the next one does. Thank you so much.